Hello and welcome to this video on how to run a free no-code latent transition analysis in the Jamovi software. My name is Geiser. I'm an instructor and statistical consultant with QuantFish. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can run a quick latent transition analysis with the free Jamovi software. And it's actually a pretty nice option given that this is a completely free and very convenient program. The first thing that we're going to do is open a data file, and for that we click on the upper left hand side corner. And so here you can see I already have a few data files that have recently been used. If you don't have that here, you can go to open and browse your computer, find the data file that you want to use. Jamovi allows you to open SPSS data files, text data files, Excel spreadsheets, and also other formats. So in this case, I'm going to open an Excel spreadsheet that is named mentalrotation.xlsx. This dataset has variables from 2 time points that I'm going to use in the latent transition analysis. Those are items from a mental rotations test. And so 12 items are used here at both time points. And then where would we find our latent transition analysis option in Jamovi? So for that, we have to install the Snow Latent module. If you don't see that here on your screen, then you can go to modules and you can find it in the Jamovi library and install it. And then it'll show up here also in your menu bar. So let's go to Snow Latent, and you can see that this has a bunch of different options, including classical latent class analysis, multi-group LCA, and others. I have other videos where I discuss those options also here on the QuantFish YouTube channel. So in our case, we're going to go to latent transition analysis. And then next, we're going to select variables on the left-hand side. You can see that there's a field here that says model, and L1, 2 in brackets, indicates that this is the default label for the latent class variable at time 1. That's L1. And then the number in brackets here indicates the number of classes that Jamovi will extract. So here, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to go with a 2-class model, although that may not be the best model for these data. So this says the latent class variable is called L1 and it has 2 latent classes at time 1. So now we're going to drag our 12 items from the first time point onto that variable. And then next, we're going to define another latent class variable for time point 2 by clicking on the Add New Factor button. And then when you scroll here, you can see that now we can give a label to that variable. I'm going to call that L2. And I'm going to also specify 2 classes for L2. So we have the same number of classes at both time points. And then I'm going to drag my items for the second time point, MRT12 through MRT12 onto this latent variable. And so then my model is completely specified. So I have a time 1 latent class variable with 2 classes, and I have a time 2 latent class variable also with 2 classes. Now what you could additionally add to the model are covariates. Those are optional. So if you wanted to predict class membership by covariates, you can enter those here into this field. In this case, I'm not going to do that. I want to just show you the basic option here in Jamovi. And so you can see that right now we don't have any output here yet. And the reason is that we haven't chosen our model yet that we want to specify. For that, we have to click on latent transition analysis. And you can see here that the model that we can choose is either a non-invariance model or a measurement invariance model. The non-invariance model is one where the conditional response probabilities are free to vary across time. So the classes could be different across time, and they could also be in a different order. Even if they were similar, they need not be in the same order at each time point, because the conditional response probabilities will simply be freely estimated with this model. The second model is one where the conditional response probabilities are set equal across time for a given class. And so that then imposes measurement invariance so that we have the exact same class profiles on both time points. So we're going to take a look first of all at the model with non-invariant conditional response probabilities. When I click on that, you can see the output appears, LTA with non-invariant measurement model. And so then we can first of all take a look at what parameter estimates jamovi provides us with. First are the class proportions at time 1. Those are indicated here as pi. Sometimes they are also indicated as delta. And so those indicate the class sizes at the first measurement occasion. And so here you can see class 1 at time 1 is the smaller class with 36.7%. Class 2 has 63.3% at time 1. Next are the transition probabilities tau. And so here, for whatever reason, those are labeled as child and parent. I don't know why, but you can just ignore that. So those give you the transition probabilities across time. Right now, they are not very easily interpreted because the classes are not necessarily in the same order. And we don't even know what the classes are and whether they are similar across time. So we have to figure that out first before we can really make sense of those transitions here. But you notice that there are two transition probabilities that are very high. One is 0.87, the other one is also about 0.87. So I suspect that those are the classes that are similar across time and that indicates the stability of staying in that class over time. So let's take a look at the conditional response probabilities row, which are given below. A give us the response probabilities for time 1. And so here you can see class 1 is the first column, and class 1 is one where the second response category is higher, has the higher probability for most items. You can see here some are above 0.9, and they are generally higher than the probabilities for the first response category. And so that indicates that class 1 had higher solution probabilities for those items, those test items measuring mental rotation, than did members of class 2, where you can see the probabilities for the second category are generally lower than in class 1. So class 1 at time 1 is a higher performing class. Class 2 at time 1 is a lower performing class. Now we need to also check the response probabilities for time 2, which are given below under B. And so those conditional response probabilities here are in a different order, or the classes are in a different order. You can see that class 1 now is the one that has generally lower solution probabilities, lower probabilities for the second response category than class 2. So the order of the classes has switched over time. We call that label switching, and it can happen in an unrestricted latent transition analysis where the conditional response probabilities are free to vary at both time points. So now class 1 is the lower performing class, class 2 is the higher performing class. So that's why the transition probabilities here are kind of difficult to interpret. But overall, this means we have relatively high stabilities in that solution across time. Now, typically, we also want to look at a measurement invariance model in LTA, and that is often the preferred model because it is easier to interpret when the classes are the same across time. And so we can get that by clicking the LTA with measurement invariance option. And then we get an additional model here at the bottom. So the other model stays. And then here below that, we get an LTA with measurement invariance. So now the conditional response probabilities row are all constrained to be equal across time. And so you can see that now they are given only once, and that's because they are set equal. So we don't have to give them twice or look at them twice because they are the same across time. And you can see class 1 is now the higher performing class with higher probabilities for the second category compared to class 2. And they are the same across time, which makes it easier to interpret the transition probabilities. You can see class 1 is a very stable class with a stability of 0.97. That means 97% of individuals stay in the higher performing class. Only about 3% here switch to the lower performing class or regress to the lower performing class over time. And that makes sense, because once you have that mental rotation skill, you'll probably not lose it, unless maybe you're an older person and you have dementia or something like that. But this was a younger sample of students, and so here they actually got better on this test over time. So you can see that the second class is much less stable. So that's the lower performing class, and that has a stability of only 0.627. And there's a 37.3% chance of individuals in that lower performing class of moving into the higher performing class across time. And that makes sense. So that indicates overall improvement on this test across time, because the second class, the lower performing class, has a lower stability over time here. So now one thing that we're missing at this point are fit statistics, because we have to decide between the non-invariance model and the invariance model, which model fits better or which model can we accept for these data. And so we can get fit statistics by clicking on measurement invariance chi-squared test. So then that gives us a table at the top with a model comparison. And so here we can compare model 1, which is here labeled as object 2. So that's the non-invariance model, as you can see from the table note, versus object 3, which is the measurement invariance model. For each model, we get the degrees of freedom, the log likelihood value, the AIC, BIC, and then the likelihood ratio G-squared statistic. We also get the difference, degrees of freedom, and a p-value. So this only gives us relative model fit statistics, which is why the G-square here says NA for the first model, because this is really a difference test between the two, and so only the second row here is relevant. So you can see the chi-square difference is 230 with 24 degrees of freedom. That's the difference in the degrees of freedom between the two models, and the p-value is smaller than 0.01. So that would indicate that measurement invariance is rejected according to the likelihood ratio difference test. Now, a different picture is provided by the BIC. The BIC is lower for the measurement invariance model at 12,963 versus 13,043. So the BIC favors the measurement invariance model. This is a frequent situation. So the BIC often favors a model that is more parsimonious with more constraints. The G-squared is very sensitive to differences in conditional response probabilities across time. So now what we should do is we should take a closer look at the solution in the non-invariance model, look at the profiles and how similar they are, and whether it makes sense to assume that those classes are equivalent across time in terms of their interpretation. And unfortunately, in this jamovi option, we're not getting a profile plot of the conditional response probabilities, which would make this a lot easier for us to see. But I can tell you that when I plotted those conditional response probabilities, the solutions for each time point looked very similar. So here I would be tempted to go with the measurement invariance model, because the classes have the same interpretation across time, and the BIC also favors the measurement invariance model. So overall, this is a pretty neat option for running a quick latent transition analysis for free. It has certain downsides, like it does not provide us with a profile plot. It doesn't give us standard errors for the model parameters at this point, and also it doesn't allow us to evaluate multiple different sets of starting values, which is important when you have more classes, where you can run into a local likelihood maximum, which may be associated with an invalid solution with incorrect parameter estimates. And so here we can't evaluate multiple sets of starting values like we could, for example, in Mplus. So hopefully these options will be added in the future to jamovi. and then this will be a great option. I hope you found this video useful to learn about latent transition analysis in Jamovi. My name is Christian Geiser, and I'll see you in the next video.